What is up, Cougar Central? We're coming at y'all today in a little bit of different scenario. I'm currently back home in Nampa. Connor's back over in Rexburg, Idaho. But still, we are super excited to bring you your weekly BYU sports news. And gosh, although nothing's going on, so much is going on. So many great things. And we're so excited to get to be with y'all this week. First things first, Taysom Hill, former BYU player, leaves the New Orleans Saints. Currently, he's an agent. Got nothing going on. So the question is, right, what happened to Taysom Hill? I'm like, look at this guy's career. He's the only player in the modern era with over 1,000 rushing, receiving, and passing yards. Just a true football player. What do you think, Connor? Just give me your thoughts here on Taysom Hill.
Yeah, so the Saints posted a tribute video to him, and so he even said he's not coming back to New Orleans. That door is closed. So it's kind of looking like it's either Denver or he's retiring because Sean Payton, the guy that loved Taysom, was with them. Now he's with the Denver Broncos. So that kind of looks like it's the last door open for him to come back to the NFL, but he hasn't signed. It's almost looking like retirement's going to be the option right now.
Yeah, honestly, I think whatever he decides to do, what a career. I mean, like, look what the guy's done in, the span of, was it 10 years he's been in? Yeah,
Yeah, something
just
like
over
that.
10 years. I mean, like, that's just an amazing NFL career right there. True football player. Now, that being said, the Denver Broncos this year look like they look like Super Bowl contenders with everybody they got going on, especially with that defense. Absolutely disgusting. And having Sean Payton as their head coach. I would love to see Taysom Hill go to the Broncos, but if he decides to retire, I wouldn't be surprised. And I think he's had a great career either way. So, to be determined. I just don't know if there's really any other team that would either want Taysom Hill or that Taysom Hill would want to be with. Not that he's not a
Yeah.
great player, but I think it's just
Yeah,
makes most
Andy's
sense.
towards the end of his career too. I heard a rumor, I don't know how true it is, that he has been working out as a tight end with the Broncos, but that's really all I've heard. And then, like, honestly, he should be in the Hall of Fame. He won't be, but he should just be in the Hall of Fame because he's literally the best pure football player in NFL history.
I think he will be in the Hall of Fame, but it's going to take a long time for people to realize that. Like, unless somebody in the next year or two just out of nowhere does 1,000 rushing, receiving, and passing yards like that, I mean, like, nobody does that. Like, that's just absolutely nuts. So, yes, I definitely think there's some Hall of Fame conversations that have to be had, especially if he retires here. But if he becomes a tight end with the Broncos and then wins the Super Bowl, then I don't think there's an argument for him to not be in the Hall of Fame. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens. Overall exciting, best of luck to Taysom Hill, whatever he decides to do here, and we'll keep watching the news and keep y'all updated on that. Next thing is college football release, the poll. The coaches poll recently came out over the past week. And BYU right now sits down at number 15. Connor, walk us through this.
Yeah, so I'm not super fond of this coaches poll. I was expecting BYU to be in the 11, 12 to 15 range, and they came at 15, which was the bottom of that range. They had a couple teams that I don't think should have been ahead of them. USC, I know they had a super good class come in. USC's at 14. I think BYU should be over USC. And then LSU is kind of an iffy one too because they weren't great last year. But they brought in Lane Kiffin. Lane Kiffin always does his thing. So I can see why they're at 13. But I would like to see BYU around 14, 13 in the coaches poll. But yeah, they came in at 15. But that just means that they have more room to move up as the season goes on if they're in that spot when the season starts.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's definitely interesting. Because when we both looked at it, I saw USC right above them, and I was like, why is USC? Because then I went back and looked at their schedule as well from this previous season, and I was like, yeah, I don't get it, actually. I'm like, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. But then we looked at that roster, and that is so many freshmen coming in. It is absolutely nuts. You got to remember, too, right, this is the coaches poll. This isn't, the actual AP poll, even though it's, done by AP. And that's the biggest thing, that the coaches are believing that USC having, that many recruits is going to make that big of a difference. I think it's interesting that they value that over what BYU did last season and what they've been able to do consistently and the people they've kept on their team. So, like you said, I think it's a great opportunity for BYU just to move up. I don't see him moving down at all.
Yeah. And then I want to get your take on this because the actual AP preseason college football poll will come out in a couple weeks. Do you
Mhm.
think BYU is going to be lower, higher, or same spot when that one comes out? Because that's the press, and they look at the coaches poll. They kind of judge some things off of that, but it'll be different still.
Gosh, that is a hard one. As I'm just going back in here looking at it, woo, I think there's going to be some shifts. Number one, Texas is number 4 does not make sense to me personally. So I think that's number one. Now for BYU itself, for our good team, I think they're a higher rank. I actually do. And I think a lot of it just comes down to what happened last season and looking at the current team. I think if you look at all those factors, especially because, the AP poll plays a lot on the press because it's done by the press. With Satake staying, with so many of those defensive players staying, yes, you lose your coordinator. That happens. But also just keeping the Bachmeyers, I really like it. I think they're going to move up. I think they're going to be higher. If they are lower, I'm curious to see who goes above them in that poll then, right? Because, if you're looking at BYU right below them, you got Michigan and Penn State. Penn State was not good last year, and Michigan was,
Penn State is just Iowa State. This coming
yeah,
season is just Iowa State from last year.
it's absolutely nuts. So I mean, like, if they put that above, then it is broken. I think but we've always had our issues with the AP poll in the past. This isn't anything new to anybody who's followed the pod for a minute here. But I think they go higher. I really do think they go higher. I think the coaches are just banking on these brand new players coming into USC. And then also, again, looking at LSU with Lane Kiffin coming in. I think that's why they're ranking them higher. But as far as the actual team itself, I think BYU is a better team.
Yeah, and I also expect them to be. I don't think they're going to be at 12 in the AP poll. They
Mm-mm.
should, in my opinion. I think they'll come in at 13, 14, what I was kind of expecting with the coaches poll. But I do think they'll be higher than 15.
Yeah, I think 13 is a pretty safe number to bet on because it just kind of makes sense. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Just looking at everything that's happened, and I'm excited to see what they do. Um, that's all I have to say on that, though, honestly. Anything else you want to add to that, Connor?
Nope. We're just waiting for more polls to come out. Football season's getting close, so it's coming up soon.
For sure. Okay, another big hot topic. Now we're talking about, polls, and this is something we get really heated about is the polls. Another thing that's been really interesting to watch in the sports world has been court injunctions as far as when somebody gets drafted, can they come back, right? Because there are plenty of people who get drafted, whether it's in the NFL or in the NBA, and then they don't actually get a contract. And its the idea is, could they come back and play? This is specifically pertaining to basketball. Really big hot topic in basketball right now. We saw that one player from, I believe it was Auburn. I have to go double check my facts on that. Was drafted to the Clippers, and then he gets to play in college again, which is absolutely nuts when you really look at that. Connor, what's going on? What do we even do? Because there's so many updates on this constantly, so many different things happening. It's insane.
Yeah, I honestly don't know. Like Colorado, they put out this thing where it's like, hey, anyone in the class of 2022 can come back and play college. So then everyone's trying to clear up roster spots to get some guys to come back. And then they say, actually, no transferring. So then that kind of got shut down. And for BYU specifically, Jackson Kohler has been a big name that everyone's been watching. That
Yeah.
kind of got shut down. So now he's seeking an injunction with California. And Dallin Hall is trying to come back too. He's seeking an injunction in North Carolina. So it's like all these other states, they're just trying to make their own rulings to get transfers figured out. So it can change at any moment. But right now, it's looking like BYU won't be able to get Jackson Kohler. And technically, they could get Keba Keita if he even wanted to come back because that would still allow him to come in. But yeah, it's just crazy. Years past, if you entered the NBA draft, you were not allowed to come back to college at all. Now there's people getting drafted, and then they're coming back to college, and there's nothing wrong with it. it's a crazy time in college basketball right now.
Yeah, no, it's definitely not. I'm like, look at right now, even, looking at BYU guys recently who got drafted. Keba Keita, is playing on a 10-day. Or was it a 10-day or is it it's an exhibition contract of sorts with the Pacers. Richie still hasn't been signed by the Memphis Grizzlies yet, which actually blows me away because, everyone in the first round now has received a written contract, and we're around 50% on the second rounders as well. So, right, anything happens, obviously with time, things I think will, iron themselves out. But then it's like, whoa, theoretically, Richie Saunders can come back and play BYU basketball. Now, if he doesn't get signed by the Grizzlies for whatever reason, Richie, I think you got better and bigger things to keep doing. Like, just keep moving forward, brother. We love you. But it's crazy that that's a possibility. So then it raises a really interesting question then, right? It's like, is this a good thing, right? Is this something that's benefiting, or is it really hurting? And personally, I'll just get my little piece on this. We don't know. And we're not going to know for a minute here because we haven't seen those players actually come back. Now, this last year, we had Ahmed, right, coming from the G League over to BYU to play as a center. And frankly, that didn't make that much of a difference for the team, actually, which, kind of surprised me because I'm thinking like, oh, G League player coming in, like, this could be a huge difference. And it really didn't do anything, unfortunately. So it's like, okay, I could see where it's like having them come back isn't hurting necessarily, but is it right? Especially, like you said, all these different states. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, for college sports as a whole, I think it is hurting it a little bit because it's now just like the complete wild west. Anyone can do anything. It's the same with the transfer portal. The transfer portal is irrelevant now. Like Jake Retzloff last year for football, he didn't even enter the transfer portal. The transfer portal was closed and he still transferred to Tulane. You can do whatever you want now in college sports, and I think that kind of hurts it. NIL, I think, was a good move. Players
Mm-hmm.
get compensated, but then it kind of blew up, and everything's just getting more disorganized. So some rules have to be set pretty soon because it's getting crazy. But for BYU specifically, I don't think it really hurts them, or it doesn't hurt or help them because the only person they could get that would help them is Jackson Kohler. Because I think you don't, if you're Richie Saunders, you don't want to come back to BYU if I were him, because all it would do is hurt your NBA stock. You've already been drafted at the top of the second round, which you originally, before you got hurt, you were like end of first round, early second round projection. He already went really early second round. And then this is a team that wants you. They drafted you there. So it's like, why would you come back to BYU? And I don't know. There were reports last year that BYU basketball, their team chemistry wasn't the best. They're just personalities clashing. So I don't know if he had the best experience last year compared to 2 years ago. So, like, if I'm Richie Saunders, I'm just staying in the NBA. Keba Keita, that kind of depends if the Pacers actually sign him to the team. Because if they didn't, then I don't see why you wouldn't want to come back unless you're like, I'm good. I'm just wanting to play pro ball, whether it's the G League overseas. But yeah, there has to be rules set down so courts just can't overrule everything.
Yeah, and I think it's sad to see that it's all these different state courts, and it's just like you said, it's the Wild West, really, right? You got Missouri over here is like, go for it. Colorado's like, go for it, and then you have another person there's like, actually, that is the worst thing you could do. We will not do that. And so it's like there really needs to be something passed down by the Supreme Court. I think is what it's going to come to in the next couple of years. Something either that's going to happen or the NCAA has to take it back into their own hands.
Yeah.
There
And
has to be something.
yeah, the NCAA too is kind of in hot water because on the college football side, Georgia is threatening to just leave.
Yeah.
So there's that conversation too of a super conference happening, and the NCAA just gets destroyed. So it's wild right now.
Yeah, no, it's definitely interesting to see, especially now with BYU just coming into the Big 12. I mean, like, gosh, big deals. But it will be interesting to keep watching this and see what happens. It just kind of depends. We just have to watch with time. But I want to come back to what you said about team chemistry for the basketball team. I've been loving the reels that they've been putting out recently. They are absolutely hilarious. Like, if you haven't fallen in love with Bruce Branch and with your good boy Chandler, I mean, like, holy moly, they are funny, man. They
Yeah.
are funny as heck.
The bowling one, hilarious. I watched that.
Yeah.
Dawson Baker, friend of the show. What's up, Dawson? He had some wild outfits bowling. Like this team they're gonna be fun to watch on the court, and they're just funny to watch through a camera because that's what we're seeing right now. But yeah, you can already tell that they're all comfortable and having fun with each other, which is good.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what, like you said, that's kind of what was missing last year. And so seeing that in the off season right now, I'm like, oh, I like this a lot. This is really good because I think it just translates over every time, and I think we're gonna see it again. I'm super excited for everything to go down with that. And then continuing on the side of basketball, the non-conference schedule just got released. Got a lot of really fun things coming up. Is it Southern Maui Invitational? What are they calling it now?
It's just the Maui Invitational.
It's just the Maui Invitational still? Okay.
Yeah.
Southwest Maui Invitational. That's what it is.
Oh,
I knew there's something in there. It's the same thing at the end of the day. It doesn't make that much of a difference. But looking at the schedule here, Connor, go ahead and walk us through. What are we looking at here?
Yeah, so like we have two exhibition games. It's Nebraska coming to Provo. That's just because last year they played in Nebraska against them. UNLV, they'll be playing in Las Vegas, but those are exhibition games, so they don't count towards their record. So the real first game of the season, you have Ohio State in the Delta Center, which basically turns into a home game. Then you got Omaha, Queens, Montana State, Northern Colorado, all at home. And then you go to the Maui Invitational, where you'll be playing Washington in the first round. Then past that, we don't really know who they will be playing. After that, you have Northwestern in the Delta Center, Utah State in the Marriott Center, and then Cal State Fullerton, Weber State in the Marriott Center, San Diego State in California, and to finish it off, La Salle, I think they're called.
I think it's LaSalle.
LaSalle, yeah. So, I mean, there's some cupcake teams you could say on that schedule, but then there's also a couple good tests that you'll see too. It's not like last year. Last year, their non-conference schedule was crazy because they had AJ. Everyone wanted them on TV. So it's not that level, but it's still a good non-conference schedule.
Yeah, I like what I'm seeing. I think opening against Nebraska was fun to watch this last year. I can't lie. As a secondary team, they were fun to root for in March Madness. I was digging what they were doing. So I'm excited, for that. That's gonna be just a great opening, great exhibition game. Them and UNLV. Ohio State actually did pretty decently last year as well. So I'm excited to see. I still think it's a BYU win on that one easily, but it's fun to be able to watch and see, get a little bit of, I don't want to say challenge, but kind of some challenge, play against some, good repertoire teams. The rest, I think they're just going to blow through the rest of those up until we get to the Maui Invitational. That's where it gets fun because you got some great teams. You got Washington, you got Arizona. Gosh, Arizona, what a team, right? Well, not compared to BYU, but oh, too fun. But it's going to be fun to see what happens there because, if it does end up coming to the final, it looks like they're on opposite ends of the bracket. So, we could see Arizona versus BYU, which would be really fun to watch. But, anything can happen. It's college ball.
Yeah. So, based off of this schedule, what is your prediction? We won't go through like one by one because there's a lot. How many losses do you think they have at the end of the non-conference schedule? And then what's like your highlighted game, the one you're most excited for?
Okay. Here's what I'm thinking. I think there's one or two losses out of all of this, really. I think they're going to sweep really heavily. Where it gets interesting is the Maui Invitational. I think anything could happen in there. I think there's a loss in there somewhere. I would love for them to make it final. I love them to win the Invitational, but I'm not full in. I'm not all in on that, personally. second one, this is where it gets really interesting. I think they split these games. It's Utah State and San Diego State. For Utah State, you're playing in Provo, but you got to remember, Utah State's a pretty wild school. Some really crazy committed fans, and Provo isn't too far from Logan. People can make that drive, and people got connections. So I look at that as like, yes, it is a home game for Provo. Being there in the Marriott Center, especially. But I'm like, anything could happen there. And again, San Diego State playing in California. What a woo! San Diego State, historically has been a great team. They're looking pretty good for this upcoming year. So I think there's going to be a loss in the Maui Invitational. And then I think they either lose to Utah State or lose to San Diego State. But I don't think they'll lose both or win both. That's my opinion on it. Because I think if they lose the Utah State game, they're going to go into some fire when they head down to San Diego State. And I think if they win the Utah State game, they'll get whooped in San Diego because they're just kind of on that emotional high and it's going to come at them. I don't know. That's my opinion.
Yeah. So I'm with you with the Maui Invitational. I think there's at least one loss there. But then with Utah State, that one's tough because Utah State is good, and they were kind of ticked off that BYU was like, "Hey, we won't play you in Logan. You have to come here." So that scares me slightly, but the home court advantage will be a thing there. So I ultimately think they beat Utah State. So for me, it kind of comes down to Ohio State and San Diego State. And the reasons for that is Ohio State's the home opener. It's in the Delta Center. This is going to be the first, like their roster is completely different from last year. So it's going to be like the first actual game. Yeah, you'll have some exhibition games, but the first actual game of the season, playing against a pretty good team. And then, so I do think they'll win that. I honestly want to say that they'll win all of them, but I can't say that because I feel like there's 2 or 3 losses, but it'd be either to Ohio State, Utah State, or San Diego State, counting out the Maui Invitational. And I don't think they'll lose all of those. San Diego State is kind of interesting. There's a lot of history between them and BYU and that rivalry there in basketball. But I don't know if it's just me. I feel like they haven't been as good as they were even 5 years ago. So
Fair.
that's where I think BYU could take advantage of that. But also, like, we don't know what to expect from this team yet. So
Yeah, and I think, with that logic with San Diego State, that makes a lot of sense with Ohio State because it's like we just don't know. And sometimes you just don't know until you play, really. So it's going to be exciting to watch that and everything go down. Overall, though, I think they have a really great non-conference schedule, and I'm really excited to see what happens. And just, looking at all these different factors right now, I really like what I'm seeing. I really do, especially it's going to be great once they get back into Big 12 play because Big 12 play is a whole different beast, honestly. Something else.
My highlight game out of the schedule is the Utah State game, BYU Utah State, because that one's going to be fun. I don't want to say there's bad blood, but there's a rivalry between the two schools. So that's going to be the highlight one. That's the one I'm most excited to watch, and I think it's just going to be super fun too.
Amen to that. Oh, gosh. Super exciting. So many great things going on. Gosh, just so many wonderful things going on in the BYU sports world. Like we talked about today between basketball and football, whether it's on the collegiate side or, former players going on to the professionals. It's just wonderful to watch, and we're so thankful. Thank you all for watching. It's so great to have y'all. Connor, anything else you want to add?
I'm good.
All righty. Well, we'll see y'all next week. Thank you for joining us for Cougar Central. As we always say, go Cougs!